Welcome to On the Fly College Edition, a podcast presented by Playfly Sports. I'm your host, Gene Defilippo. Playfly Sports is the full-service marketing and media company bringing digitally enabled innovations to the sports industry. Welcome to this week's On the Fly. I'm your host, Gene Defilippo, and our guest this week is Marcus Blossom, the very successful Director of Athletics at Creighton University. Marcus, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Well, it's always good to see you. Marcus, you've been successful everywhere you've been, at Boston College, at Holy Cross, Providence before Boston College, and now Creighton. You've had an interesting road to the top. And people always say there's no one way to the top, and you sure showed that. Tell us about your graduating from Northeastern, where you went to college, up to the present time.
Well, it is an interesting story, Gene, and I'm filled with so much gratitude that I've, been able to work at some phenomenal places over the last few years. As you mentioned, I was a basketball student athlete at Northeastern University. Had a great experience there, and upon graduation, I went back home to work in Chicago in corporate accounting for a pharmaceutical company in Chicago named Abbott Laboratories, a Fortune 50 company, very successful company, and was moving up the proverbial corporate ladder. At least I thought I was at that company, but it wasn't really bringing me joy. And I just recalled back on my student athlete experience and the administrators that have helped me there. One of them worked for you and Jody Meridian at Northeastern. And I just recall that time as being one that was very fulfilling. And I wanted to provide a similar experience to student athletes like me and even elevate that experience because there were some things I felt we could have done better. So I quit my job, packed up I think I had a Dodge Neon at the time, packed up my Dodge Neon and drove to Morgantown, West Virginia and entered a graduate sport management program and started my career all over. Only a few days I've dreaded it, mainly the early days when I didn't have any money, giving up some good money at corporate America. But I really wanted to provide student athletes with a better experience, one that I had, but even elevate that. So I started out after grad school as an intern at the NCAA, the lowest man on the totem pole, and kind of worked my way up through a variety of really great institutions, from the NCAA to Central Michigan, to Brown University, and to my last few stops, four straight Catholic institutions: Providence College, Boston College, having the fortunate opportunity to become the AD at Holy Cross, and now the athletic director at Creighton. So very fortunate, a long road, but understandably not as long as some others. So I look at this as I'm sitting in this seat, and it feels like, it was an arduous task getting to this position. But I look at others that, have tons of experience, have been working their tail off for years, and they haven't quite made it yet. So that's why I start off with a tremendous amount of gratitude when I started this podcast.
Yes. You were very young when you got your first AD's job, but very deserving. Mm-hmm. And like you said, cream rises to the top, and you've gotten to the top. I spent 15 years as the director of athletics at Boston College, and I really believe that there's something special about being at a Jesuit Catholic institution where the mission is men and women for others. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, first off, I think you were long gone by the time I got there, but people there still talked about you. I think you left a lasting impression from a lot of the staff that was still there. They still talk about the Gene Defilippo days. So I really love my experience at Boston College and have worked at, I think, three Jesuit institutions now, 4 Catholic institutions, and The reason, I work at these institutions, as you mentioned, men and women for and with others, because it's for the greater good. We try to instill and educate our student athletes that it's about educating the whole person. So you want to develop in the classroom, you want to obviously develop on the field of play, you want to develop yourself into the best person possible, but you also want to commit yourselves to a life's mission of helping others. And if you aren't in a capacity or willing to help others, if everyone really doesn't think that way, then where are we as a society? And I think we can use more Jesuit institution graduates in order to really contribute positively to the world today.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very well said. At Creighton, of course, your sport that's most visible is men's basketball. You've had some great success there. Tell us a little bit about it. You don't have an on-campus arena. You play downtown, but you fill it almost every night. Your town has really, really supported your teams.
I don't know if many people know about Creighton or even the city of Omaha. I think it's a hidden gem. Obviously Greg McDermott has had tremendous success. I think this is year 12 for him. We've had a line of great coaches here, even prior to Greg and Dana Altman and Eddie Sutton and Tony Baroni. And I mean, we just have a fantastic history of basketball success. And as you mentioned, I think one of the main reasons is the community really, really supports us. I mean, 17,000 people at the CHI Health Center, Omaha downtown. They fill the arena. The town is painted blue on a nightly basis, and they really have gotten behind us. A credit to the work of Bruce Rasmussen, the former athletic director here at Creighton. I think he was here for 27 years. He really did a lot of the heavy lifting on getting the name of Creighton throughout the community. Some people here on staff told me they couldn't find a Creighton polo or T-shirt in the stores in town prior, years ago. There was a lot of Husker red around, but now, people really support us at an elite level. They're proud to support the student athletes here at Creighton, and we've really, really put some quality teams on the floor.
Imagine 17,000 people crowding in there every night to watch Creighton play, and you're in the same town as the University of Nebraska Omaha, which has a Division I program itself.
They do. I think they went fully Division I maybe 10 years ago. I'm not quite certain. They've been Division I in hockey for longer than that. But a lot has to do with success. Like I mentioned before, Greg and Dana and some of the coaches, even prior to Dana, they've won, and the university has supported us. We've been able to attract some really good, talented student athletes. And I think, maybe even the student athletes, when they get here, they're not quite sure what they're getting into. But once they're here, they really love it. They come back often, and they're proud of their experience here at Creighton.
That's great. Great that the student athletes feel that way. Marcus, now that you've been an athletic director at two different institutions, what advice would you give to a young Marcus Blossom on the way up?
That's a great question. I think you started out with not all the paths are similar. I don't know the statistics, but most of the athletic directors, at least over history, have come from the external side, whether it's fundraising or sponsorships or ticket sales. But I do think what university leaders are looking for now, whether it's presidents or chancellors or board of trustees, they're looking for leaders. And I think leaders can come from a variety of paths. So what I would tell a young Marcus Blossom is to, one, don't get discouraged. Oftentimes you can look at maybe Gene Defilippo getting an AD job before you and saying, gosh, darn it, I thought I was ready. Don't worry about the path or the timing of someone else. Just really keep doing your job. Do it at the most elite level you can, and someone will notice you. I truly believe that. I think I put my head down, created some good relationships, worked for some fantastic athletic directors that have supported me, and have gotten a little lucky along the way.
That is well said. People now, with the way college athletics is going, we need leaders.
Yep.
We need strong leaders. And I'm glad that you brought that up. How do you deal with the student athletes? A lot of ADs don't have a lot of time to spend with student athletes. I'm told that you love getting down there in the mix and being with them for practices and games. How do you interface with the student athletes?
Yeah, I used to try to play pickup basketball with them, but I don't do that much anymore. So, I think it's important for the student athletes to know you care. And that's not just, we spent some time here talking about our men's basketball program. But what I try to do is really be visible, for one, and supportive of all of our student athletes, and go to their games, attend their practices, set up team meals with them where they get a chance to get to know me and ask questions. We have 300 student athletes here, so I try to positively impact all of them. I know I don't get a chance to get to as many games and some sports as I like to, but if I think back to last year, I think I've been to all of our games, all of our student athletes games, except maybe golf, because they don't want me near a golf course. I am absolutely terrible.
I know better.
But be around, be supportive, talk to their parents, listen to them. So that's how I try to go about my business. And once they see you around, they become open to telling you how they feel. So they'll shoot you an email and say, "Hey, Marcus, can you look into this? Our travel isn't where it needs to be. We need another athletic trainer because the wait in the training room has been a little longer than we like." But they don't open up to you until they see you around, know you're supporting them, and know you care.
Great answer. Marcus, I've been out of the chair for 10 years, and it's just completely different job than it was 10 years ago. And dealing with the transfer portals and NIL and, conference realignment and all of the things that you're dealing with. How are you at Creighton dealing with NIL?
We have, almost every platform you could have that allows student athletes to make money off their name, image, and likeness. We have a really active collective for our men's basketball program, where they engage with those student athletes for different promotional activities to help those student athletes generate income for themselves. But what we have an educational platform where we set up a class in our business school to educate our student athletes on taxation, branding, investments. So we're really proud of that, because once they get the money they weren't accustomed to getting, we want them to be able to make the right decisions once they start generating revenue for themselves. But the one thing I want people to understand is probably the negative about the NIL and the transfer portal and the things that you just mentioned, is that education isn't talked about enough. I think we tend to overlook what this college experience, to me, for 99% of our student athletes, is all about. It's about what we started this conversation off with. It's about, developing the whole person, developing them academically, spiritually, in some cases, on the court, and in other ways as well. So, I just don't want that to be overshadowed. Education is powerful. It changes lives. To me, it specifically changes lives and generations of people of color. So I don't really, I constantly talk about, hey, you can generate NIL, you can come here and play in front of 17,000, but best believe our main focus is to educate you, because I think that's going to be life-changing.
I'm glad to hear you mentioning education. because that's so overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize what student athletes go through.
Yep.
They do go to class all day,
Yeah.
and then they have to go to practice, and then they
Yeah.
have to go to study hall.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I'm glad that some of them can profit off of the name, image, and likeness.
Right.
Being an athletic director it's not a job, Marcus, as you know, it's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And your family has to buy in, and you have to have great support from your family and your school and all. What do you do to relax? What do you do to get away? Is there anything special that you do?
Gosh, I don't do enough. I'm a constantly stressed out person. But I think the part of my life that's outside of the athletic department that's most enjoyable is I have 2 young girls. They're in 4th and 1st grade. When I was looking at my calendar this week, trying to figure out what my week looks like, I make sure, hey, my daughter Maya has a soccer game on Tuesday night at 6. I got to move some stuff around and make sure I'm there. So that's really, I wouldn't say it's relaxation, but it's really my outside of work enjoyable time is hanging out with my wife and 2 young daughters. And they're also, the best part about that is, and your kids have probably grown up on a college campus too, is that's a little bit of fun for them too. So I can mingle or mix work with family by bringing them to games, and they run around with my credit card and go to the concession stand 3-4 times a game.
My son John has coached in the NFL for
Right.
15 years now, and I mean, he says it's the best way to grow up, being on a college campus. And his formative years, we were I was the associate athletic director at Kentucky, and he was a ball boy for football and basketball, and he loved being a part of it. It's a really, really neat way
and never gonna forget it. I bet he's never gonna forget it.
Well, he won't.
Yep.
Yeah. What drives you? What makes you get up in the morning and really can't wait to get to work?
I think it starts with one of the reasons I left the corporate job and got into this industry is to positively affect or impact student athletes. I was a former student athlete. They look at me as someone that could make a difference. So I'm trying to make a difference, a positive difference for those student athletes, for the athletic department. And athletics here is a beacon of light for Creighton University. Many people don't know about Creighton outside of this region. Athletics can be one of those entities that helps bring positive energy, positive influence or marketing to the university itself. We have great professors. We have a great administration, and those potential students or parents may learn more about Creighton because they happen to attend a basketball game or see us on TV. So I'm also trying to positively impact the university. Additionally, being probably, I think I'm the first African-American AD at Creighton. I want to make sure there's an opportunity for someone to follow me. So do a great job. So when my time is up, they say they made a good decision, and someone else that looks like me may not get the job. There's a lot of talented people out there, but will get the opportunity to be considered for the job.
Very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about Creighton University, and a lot of people outside of the area probably don't know as much about Creighton, but it's a great institution. Tell us a little bit more about it.
It's one of the I think it was the Midwest top-ranked private institution for a significant period of time before we moved to the national university ranking in U.S. News and World Report. We have a great business school. It's enrollment is probably around 4,500. It's a growing institution when it comes to brand profile. We have a great a great group of graduate programs too, a great dental school. We have a school of medicine, a law school. And that's one of the reasons we moved from a Midwestern regionally ranked institution until the national ranking, because of our breadth of programs, both on the undergraduate and graduate level. The city of Omaha is a really unique city. I think the population is around 500,000, close to 1 million or a little over 1 million in the metro area. It's a highly educated city with a ton of college graduates, and I think it's just growing in the right direction. So it's a unique place with a great following as we started this conversation.
Wow, that's nice. Tell us a little bit about Omaha, a little bit more.
It has great restaurants.
Ooh, that sounds good. Any good Italian restaurants?
It doesn't have as many Italian spots you like to go to on the North End or anything like that. But great restaurants, friendly people. It's if I had to label it in one way, it's a family town. It's a great place to raise kids. Kids are into sports and a lot of different activities. Just really hardworking people. A lot of successful people in town. A couple Fortune 500 companies. So I think it's one of the hidden gems of the Midwest for sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Marcus, you have 14 sports at Creighton. Tell us a little bit about the sports programs that you have, your coaches, and also about those great student athletes that are attending Creighton University.
Yeah, we do have 14 sports. And I'll start with we really attract some quality student athletes. They are about the right things. They come here. They have great GPAs. They want to be here. They're really, really competitive in their arenas. They work extremely hard. They're very respectful, come from great families. So I really am excited about our student athletes. And we have a lot of coaches that have really been here for a while. They've been successful. We talked about what Coach McDermott has done here on the men's basketball side. Coach Jim Flannery has been here 20 years, multiple NCAA tournaments. We have a huge volleyball weekend, home weekend this weekend with Coach Kirsten Booth with our volleyball program. She's been here 20 years, a ton of success. And we have a lot of young coaches that are looking at the coaches I just mentioned, and they want to take their teams along those same paths. So a lot of fun to be here, mainly because of the people.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your president and the administration at Creighton and why this job was so attractive to you.
You know, the thing about we're led by a Jesuit president, Father Daniel Hendrickson, and he was one of the main reasons that this job was attractive to me. And for one, he's supportive of not just me, but our entire department as people. He understands how hard we work. He understands how hard it is to win in Division I college athletics. But I think most importantly, and this doesn't happen everywhere, he understands how a successful athletic department can positively impact the university. And I think I mentioned that earlier. So he's in it for our student athletes to have a great experience, but he's also in it to help grow the brand of Creighton. And I think it's been a really, really great partnership during my short time here.
That's really neat. So you have a great town, a great leader. You got some really good coaches. You got things going at Creighton. That's really exciting.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. One other question. What do you do for fun? Do you play golf? Do you walk? Do you work out? What do you do?
Yeah, I do work out probably 6 days a week.
All right.
Yeah. I work out. I play a little golf, but not much. That game hasn't been kind to me.
I don't know who it's kind to.
I watch a ton of sports. So, when I'm not here supporting our student athletes, I'm probably watching a game, when I get home. If I'm not spending time with family, that's probably what I'm doing.
That's neat. Well, you've certainly done a great job at everywhere you've been, but certainly at Creighton, and they're fortunate to have you, Marcus. Hey, I want to thank you for being with us. I knew you'd be really, really good. You were great.
Thanks,
And this will be something that a lot of the young people will really, really want to hear. We're out of time on this week's On the Fly College Edition. I'm your host, Gene Defilippo. Thanks for your time this time, and we'll see you next time.